If you're hungry for porchetta but you don't want to spend 8 hours cooking it, then this is going to be your favorite porchetta recipe.
Big thanks to Napoleon Grills for sponsoring this episode.
Of course, it all starts with a beautiful piece of pork belly. Now, I've got a beautiful dark red colored pork belly with lots of dark red meat. The color of the dark red meat means this meat has a lot of flavor. So if you're looking for some good quality pork, you're looking for red meat. Just look at that. That is all flavor. Now, of course, since it's pork belly, it also has a little bit of fat on top of it, but don't worry too much about that. I'm going to show you how to transform this beautiful piece of meat into something freaking delicious in no time. Of course, we'll be rolling up this beautiful piece of meat, but before I do, I'm going to slice it in half because I want to add more flavor to it. If I just roll it up, it's going to be like this, and we're just going to have one layer of flavor. And I think I can add more. It's not a lot of work, but it's definitely worth the effort. Slice it open, go through the middle as far as you can, as far as the pork belly will allow you to go. You see here it's getting a little thin and it doesn't like, if you cut through this, that's probably going to give way. Let me try anyways. That's about as far as I will go with that. The most important ingredient beside salt is, that's right, fennel. Now, in Italy, they like to use fennel pollens, which is the flower of the fennel plant. That's nice, but we don't have that. However, we do have the flavor profile of the fennel. You can buy regular fennel seeds at the store. Don't put too much of it on your roast because it's pretty intense in flavor. Just a few of these here and there. It's going to make this roast taste like a porchetta. And basically this is the biggest secret we have. If you use this, everything will taste like porchetta. I say porchetta because in the Netherlands we say porchetta. Every time I accidentally say porchetta, I mean porchetta. Okay? I know it's a sensitive topic. All right, a little bit of salt. There we go. Now, of course, we're going to need some more herbs to make this a little bit more exciting. And in typically Italian fashion, I'll get some from the garden. There we go. I got some thyme right here. Just going to take these beautiful fresh leaves. And it's late in the seasons. And since we're in the winter time, it's kind of like a dry time. It's not the fresh spruces anymore. The stalks become hard, so make sure you don't get any stalks in there. Got a little bit of rosemary right here. Now the rosemary, I do want to chop up a little bit. Even though I only have the leaves, just gonna cut that up. You see, rosemary has that bitterness to it, where it becomes a little bit intense. And that's real nice if you have a rosemary salt. But in like a regular roast, we're only going to need a little sprinkle of it. Parsley is a herb that freshens things up. It's in your mint, in your chewing gum. That is what it's going to do right here, but the flavor is not super intense, especially not if you start cooking it. So don't worry about it being overpowering. Personally, I gotta have a little bit of lemon zest. Now, some of my Italian friends, they really like chili flakes on everything. And they also do it on their porchetta, but I'm not going to do that. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the center of the porchetta. A little bit of fennel seeds. Not too much, don't overdo it, don't go crazy. It's not, if it would have been pollen, it could have been a little bit more intense. Now, of course, I'm going to do the rest of all the ingredients, just as I did on the inside. A little bit of lemon, a little bit of parsley, some salt, gotta have some thyme, rosemary. This roast almost good to go. All I need to do now is roll it up and tie it up. So therefore you're going to need some butcher's twine. If I'm lucky, I get to roll this up a little bit like that. See, a little bit. So I got a little bit of a roll. Mostly on the regular size pork bellies you don't get that roll. It's just the pork bellies are about 1.5 to 2 kilograms. Then you never get the roll. There we go. Just a super easy standard knot that everybody uses to tie the shoes, the flat knot. I'm going to do a couple of these until I have a beautiful looking porchetta roast. Now that already looks really, really beautiful. Of course, it's still got a long way to go. And I'm going to sprinkle a little bit of salt on the board and then roll the outside of the porchetta onto that. This salt is going to help crispen up that fat that sits on the outside. Most of it's going to render off while it's cooking, but it's just going to make the fat more enjoyable to eat. And especially with the pork belly, that is quite important. Because normally you would cook a porchetta roast for 8 hours. And in those 8 hours, the fat breaks down completely. So all you're left with is juiciness and meat. And now we're cooking it fast, hot and fast actually. So therefore the fat only has the opportunity to melt if you turn up the heat. And that's why we need the salt to help us a little bit. I'll be cooking my porchetta on the Napoleon gas grill. And I've already turned on one burner to preheat it a little bit. Currently I'm running at around 120 degrees Celsius. But I'm going to turn on a second burner just to make sure that I got plenty of heat for this roast. And I'm going to place this porchetta at a high position over indirect heat. And that is a really good spot because the heat is going to go from here over here and then out the back. And we're going to get the same temperature at that height as the thermometer because this sits at the same height. Would I put it at the lowest rack, I would get much lower temperatures. I would have to use more energy to cook the porchetta. And since I want to go hot and fast, this is the best spot. So it's a little over an hour cooking time and now the porchetta looks like this. Oh, we got a nice brown look on it. The fat rendered down. It looks super tasty. Let's get the porchetta off the barbecue. Oh, I don't know which side is the best side. All sides look fantastic to me. Now, of course, we're going to let this rest for about 10 to 15 minutes. Normally, my recommendation would be to go for a longer rest, up to a half hour. Don't wrap it in aluminum foil because we got a nice crispy crunch on the outside. But in this case, I'm outside. I'm not going to rest it for too long. I don't want it to cool down too much. So I'm going to take a shorter rest. And I want it to be super easy, so let's not make it any more difficult than it needs to be. If we were going for the perfect porchetta, you would just let it rest till infinity, or at least 2 hours just to get that perfect porchetta. But in this case, can't wait to dig into this. One of the things that excites me is that this is so easy that you can, well, basically barbecue at work. You just throw this on in the morning. You can have this with your colleagues at lunch. Do you know anyone at work that barbecues? Send them this video. Tell them you want this for lunch. If you ever had the opportunity to go to Italy, you know that it's a sandwich. So what do? You get some bread out, you slice into the porchetta, and then open it up. That looks absolutely freaking delicious. Don't start screaming and yelling, whoa, it's pink, you didn't cook it enough. No, the meat was red, remember? And that's one of the reasons why you always use a thermometer to measure the core temperature in the roast. Because if you're trying to cook this until it becomes white, when the meat was red to start with, well, you're probably going to burn it before it turns white. Measure the core temperature, then you'll know. Whoa, a couple of slices out of this. There we go. On a sandwich, on a bun. There we go. This is the sandwich that you want. Look at that. Either you make this at work and you're going to be the star, or ask someone to do it for you. Cheers, guys. The recipe's on a website. Just make this. It will make you happy, and it's too easy not to do it.